Hello and welcome to the print interview. We have with us Sharmistha Mukherjee, who has penned a book called In Pranab, My Father, A Daughter Remembers, which describes the illustrious life of Pranab Mukherjee. It also carries stories, anecdotes that were narrated to Sharmistha Mukherjee by Pranab Mukherjee, her father. Welcome to the print, ma'am.
Thank you, Neelam.
So, ma'am, a lot is being already, has already been written and talked about as far as the book goes. You have already spoken about it also, but, largely when you read the book, it gives an impression that Pranab didn't think much of Rahul Gandhi as far as politics is concerned. Rather, he also at point felt that he was not really inclined or interested in politics. Is that a correct inference to draw from your book?
The fact is that the book is not about Rahul Gandhi, and from what I could get from my father's diaries, that there was not really too much of interaction between Rahul Gandhi and him during his UPA years. And a few times Rahul visited him at his official residence at 13th Alcatraz Road. A few times he visited in his when he was president. But there was not really much interaction when my father was in the government. But from whatever few references, there are maybe probably 5-6 references in 51 volumes of his diaries.
Right.
So yes, he first, one thing he felt about Rahul Gandhi, that he is very courteous.
Right.
And he is full of questions. And he also noted at some point that he really very quickly jumps from one subject to another. But he felt happy that when Rahul spoke well in the parliament, he noted in his diaries, especially about the land acquisition, that Rahul spoke well. And at one point of time, it was before 2014 elections, in 2013 sometimes, he came to meet my father for a lunch at Presidential House. And he shared with my father his plans for strengthening the organization, and Baba seemed to be appreciative about it, and he wrote that Rahul seemed confident, though he did not write anything in detail about what the plans. But I think my father's faith in Rahul was shaken after the infamous trashing the ordinance brought in by the Manmohan Singh government, and the way Rahul Gandhi walked in a press conference in front of the full media, trashed an ordinance which was being brought by his own government, and said that it should be torn and it should be thrown away. And especially considering the fact that the Prime Minister was visiting, he was visiting US at that time. So my father was very upset about this whole episode. I was the one who broke the news to him, and he was very, very angry. He was very angry. And he started shouting at me as if I tore the ordinance. But he felt it was totally uncalled for. And at that night, which I of course came to know much later after he passed away, and then I read his diaries. At that night, he wrote in his diary that he has all the arrogance of his Gandhi-Nehru lineage without their political acumen. And he also wondered that whether Rahul realizes the impact of his action on the Prime Minister, on the coalition partners. And so he was very upset about it. And I think his faith in Rahul was shaken after this incident.
But what is your personal opinion of Mr. Gandhi? You have also, been associated with the Congress.
I have been associated with the Congress for about 5 years. I have worked as a party worker, but I was too junior in the hierarchy to really have any interaction with Rahul Gandhi. And a couple of interactions wherever I met him, I felt that he is a very nice and he is a very courteous person.
For decades, there has been a complete debate on how the Gandhis didn't allow Pranab to become the Prime Minister, whether it was during after Indira Gandhi's assassination or Rajiv Gandhi's assassination. Everyone felt that the Gandhis didn't support him the way they should have. Is it something that you have also touched upon in the book?
Yes, I have definitely touched upon it. And what my father felt, that perhaps the root of this mistrust or lack of complete trust, let me put it like this, its lack of complete trust was perhaps Rajiv or later Sonia felt that a very strong-headed a person like my father who had a mind of his own, and that strong mind was backed by a combination of knowledge, experience, expertise, political sense. Such a person would never blindly toe the line. And in a personality-centered political culture, perhaps that could also become a disqualification, that this person might challenge the authority of the Gandhis. So that could be, what was the real reason, that only perhaps Sonia ji will be able to say. But my father thought that perhaps that was the main reason of his getting dropped from Rajiv's cabinet, in his second cabinet, and that is perhaps also the reason why Sonia ji did not trust him completely.
Well, I'll just recount one of the incidents that you have mentioned while we are talking about the race for the prime ministership. You were very excited when you got to know that he would be the prime minister, and he said no, Sonia Gandhi will not allow that. But later on he did become the president. So how do you see this entire political?
There is a lot of difference between 2024 and 2012, so you can't really compare both the situations.
Right.
And in 2004, my father was very clear that he's not going to be made the prime minister. It would be Manmohan Singh, and it was not that he realized it in 2004. Even in as early, 5 years back, in the 1999, I think, general elections, after which Vajpayee government was formed.
Right.
So before the election, I found an interesting entry in my father's diary saying that Dr. Manmohan Singh is contesting from South Delhi, parliamentary constituency, and he will, in all likelihood, he will win. And in case of a Congress victory, he's most probably going to be the prime ministerial candidate. So even 5 years before 2024, my father was kind of sure that Dr. Manmohan Singh is going to be the prime ministerial candidate. And because he knew about his very close relationship between Dr. Manmohan Singh and Sonia Gandhi, and he also knew about Sonia Gandhi's lack of complete trust in him in terms of not, perhaps, again, as I say, every time I'm saying perhaps because I don't know, that is just a conjecture, that he might challenge her authority or might not, toe the line blindly. But also, on the other hand, I would like to say and state it on record that Sonia Gandhi did, and Dr. Manmohan Singh did, gave Pranab lot of importance in the party, in the government. He was one of the main strategists of the party. He was one of the key members of the government. He was entrusted with varied degree of responsibilities. He was made the leader of the party in Lok Sabha. So if you don't trust a person, you don't give that person so much of responsibility.
Right.
But whether that final push to make the prime minister, here there was perhaps a degree of hesitant on part of Sonia ji. Again, I'm saying perhaps.
Right.
So,
and I would just like to read out something that you have written. You say that Modi is the only PM after Indira Gandhi who has the ability to feel the pulse of the people so acutely and accurately. Why do you say that? In the book you talk.
Yeah,
about
I didn't say that. That is my father said it, and because that is what he felt. That was his assessment of Modi as a politician.
So was he a Modi admirer?
It will be very wrong to say Modi admirer or Sonia Gandhi admirer or Dr. Singh admirer. It is, he definitely had a lot of regards for Mr. Modi, but there were also a lot of differences in terms of, his style of working, the way the Modi government, he has written it clearly in his book, The Presidential Years.
Yes.
So it's not that, and one thing after I realized reading about going through my father's diary, and also perhaps we all learn from life, it's not that black and white. It's not that somebody is complete devil and somebody is complete God. It's not like that. Human relationships are very complex and complicated. So there is a lot of positives, and there are also a lot of criticisms.
Right.
And I think mature people and mature personalities and mature politicians especially, they should be able to take the criticisms in the stride,
So he was talking about his political acumen when
Of
he's
course,
talking about
of
the
course.
pulse of the people.
Yes, of course.
Pranab was
Of
talking
course.
about that.
Of
What is
course.
your personal opinion of Mr. Modi?
Well, I am no judge of his politics, neither of his governance. I very strongly disagree, during their time, the kind of polarization in the society is happening. I very, disagree with that kind of, statements which the members of parliament from the ruling party sometimes make, and then there is complete silence from the Prime Minister. I'm sure if my father had been alive and he also saw a little bit of it, the way, ordinances, for example, the practice of making ordinances bypassing the parliament, he spoke openly about it even during his presidential years. He was also very worried about the role of the opposition in constantly obstructing the procedures of the House, the operation of the House. So he was very, very worried about that, and he spoke his mind. He wrote about it in his book. So it was not that there is, and all these speeches are there in the public domain.
But there are a lot of congressmen, people within the party who had made their displeasure sort of public when, Pranab attended this RSS event. So has he mentioned that?
Of course, in detail to me, in the sense, in those days, I was very actively involved in Congress politics, and I was vehemently against his going to attend the event, and I really fought with him for a few days.
Okay.
And I tweeted against him also. But when I look back, I felt, I behaved very stupidly, very foolishly, and very immaturely. And because what he believed, that politics, a democratic politics, is a process of dialogue. And in democracy, there are places of different ideologies. There are differences. Only one thing, when I used to fight with him, he always kept quiet. He didn't reacted. But once he, very sharply said that, I was repeating that same argument by the left and the Congress doing rounds, that, by going there, you are giving legitimacy to RSS. So he sharply reacted that who am I to give legitimacy to RSS? It is the people of India who has accepted RSS by electing RSS Pracharak as the Prime Minister. And in democracy, you simply can't ignore people's mandate. And if you choose to, ignore RSS, you might not agree with their ideology.
Right.
But, if you choose to accept the fact that people of India has given such a decisive mandate to RSS Pracharak, and made him the Prime Minister. So, you are doing it at your own peril. That's what he said. And what I find actually very, very, not strange. Of course, I knew my father is not going to endorse RSS ideology, but he actually used the RSS platform to preach Congress ideology. The core value Congress believes in: constitutionalism, pluralism, secularism, inclusivism, tolerance. So he talked about the diversity of the culture. He quoted their Betanor Pandit Nehru from the RSS platform. So I think in recent years, the kind of publicity the Congress ideology got, from his speech. So that takes a different kind of courage, to literally go to the tiger's den and say things, which is in contrast to their ideology.
In the book, you also mention one incident. So for our viewers, if you could talk a little more about it, which led to Pranab talking about that, this could be one of the reasons why Rahul Gandhi could never become the PM. So there's an incident that you talk about, a walk that they take in the garden.
No. Don't, you have framed your question very wrongly.
So why don't you
yes, I'm telling you. So there was this very funny incident, actually. He was taking his walk in the Mughal gardens, and suddenly he got the news that Rahul has come to meet him. So anyway, he met him, but it turned out that Rahul was actually supposed to meet him in the evening.
Right.
But Rahul's office had misinformed him that the meeting was in the morning.
All right.
So I came to know about it from one of the ADCs, and when I asked my father about it, so he commented very sarcastically, if Rahul's office cannot differentiate between AM and PM, how do they hope to run PMO one day?
Right.
He did not say that this is one of the reasons why Rahul Gandhi became PM. No, it was a sarcastic comment. It was a sarcastic comment on the functionality, on the efficiency of Rahul's office.
But he was also quite upset about, his dismal performance in the parliament, his absenteeism, that he
yes,
said.
I think, we have talked about it already. And as I said, the book is not about Rahul Gandhi.
No, I understand. So I also want to talk about one incident where, Pranab Mukherjee mentions that, he was supposed to be included in the cabinet, but his name was later included by Indira Gandhi. It was scribbled on the paper. So what exactly happened there, and who was behind it? Why Pranab Da felt that, there was some mischief?
No, he did not feel there was any mischief. And as it happened in 1980,
right.
So Congress came back to power. Indira Gandhi, Congress I that time, came back to power, with a sweeping majority. And my father wanted to contest.
Yes.
And much against the wishes of Indira Gandhi.
West Bengal, I believe.
From West Bengal. And he contested from Bolpur, and Mrs. Gandhi was quite against it.
Right.
He advised my father not to contest, but still he contested and he lost. And in fact, though Congress did very well in the in rest of the country, from West Bengal it won only 4 seats. So Mrs. Gandhi was livid after the election results, and he gave it to my father. He really gave it to my father. And my father was very disheartened, and obviously he did not expect to be included in the cabinet, because till then, in the history, no minister, no person who had just lost a Lok Sabha election was inducted in the cabinet. So he did not have any expectation. So, but on the day of the, and there is much more, there, which I have written in detail in the book.
Yeah.
So, on the day of the oath taking in the morning, he got a call from R.K. Dhawan saying that, come in for the swearing in ceremony. But when he reached there, he saw that there was no seat for him. So, he looked at Indira Gandhi, who immediately realized. Anyway, as it turned out, and she wrote a note and then sent it. As it turned out, the list of ministers which was sent to Rashtrapati Bhavan had Baba's name absolutely written at the end, and with a pencil and by hand. So Rashtrapati Bhavan inadvertently missed it, and there was no chair for him.
Right.
So the reason for it, that is my conjecture, because again, I asked my father. I asked my father at some time that why your hand was written, name was written by hand. He said there many would have, if people would have come to know about it, they would have very strongly objected.
Why?
So exactly, I asked why and who. He did not say anything, But this is my guess that perhaps, this is my guess, that perhaps it was Sanjay Gandhi, because he seemed to be the only person at that point who was that powerful that Indira Ji had to keep it as secret till the last moment that she had to write the name. But again, why would Sanjay? Because my father had an excellent relationship with Sanjay. So the reason, again, it's my conjecture that the reason is purely political, nothing personal. My father lost an election. There were 4 seats for Congress from West Bengal, out of it which was won by Barkat Ghani Khan Chaudhary, who never lost an election in his life. So the primary contender for ministership was Mr. Chaudhary. But to have 2 ministers, and especially one who has lost 2 cabinet ministers, was also not politically prudent. Not only from Sanjay, Mrs. Gandhi would have faced opposition from even other states also.
Right.
So, and also Mrs. Indira Gandhi broke all conventions by appointing Baba, because who had just lost the election, as if for the first time in Indian history that a person who has lost an election was immediately inducted in the cabinet. So that is the story. And the funniest part is, after everything was over, my mother claimed that she knew about it because Indira Gandhi confided in her, but asking her not to tell it to my father or to anybody, because Indira Gandhi said Pranab need to be taught a lesson.
Okay. Ma'am, coming to your family, your brother was an MP, you were with the Congress, then you decided to sort of quit politics. Was it at all to do with, your disillusionment with politics or Congress?
Well, my realization that I am not meant for politics. I joined politics very late in my life.
Right.
I was never involved or interested in politics. I come from a very different background of classical dance. I was a professional Kathak dancer and choreographer. So from there, I joined politics very late in 2024 out of a very ideological, and also perhaps it was a very impulsive decision. And so it was a great learning process. It was very interesting experience, but within few years I realized perhaps I'm not meant for it. This is not my cup of tea. And also after 2020, I disclosed this to my father that I was thinking of quitting politics after 2020 February elections, Delhi elections,
Why?
When Congress was decimated. And what I felt, we did not even attempt to give a good fight. We did not even attempt to go to. We surrendered our weapons even before. But that was not the reason, to be very honest. I started realizing that your politics is not my cup of tea. I wanted to get back to my own personal private world of dance, music and dogs.
So many are talking about that you might take a plunge back in politics. Is that something ruled out?
It is something, I don't find it surprising, because in today's day and world, and perhaps in the field of politics, people do not do anything without an agenda.
Right.
And people always ascribe that kind of agenda to somebody else. So I don't really, blame people for having those kind of things. But you see, I am writing this book because of my father. As simple as that. My loyalty lies with my father. Neither with Sonia Gandhi, nor with Narendra Modi, nor with anybody else. And I am totally, forget about disillusion with politics, that's not the right word. But I realize politics is not my cup of tea. I'm not interested in politics. As simple as that. I'm not interested in politics. And for me, a Rajya Sabha seat or a position in a party or even being a minister is not my path to nirvana.
Right.
That's not my goal to achieve. So for me, it's really, I'm not interested. As simple as that.
But from the family, was there ever this, I would not say pressure, but did Pranab Da want you to be in politics?
No, never. There was never any discussion. In fact, I have written in this book, there was this very sudden, question by him. It was after his declaration of 2012 his presidential candidate. I still remember, late at night, I was packing his personal belonging, and I walked into his office asking him that what to pack, and he was sitting on his table and writing his diaries. Suddenly he looked at me and in Bangla said, "Lodbi," means ladegi. So I really thought that, he's accusing me of fighting with somebody. So I said, no, I didn't fight with anybody. He said, no, will you contest from Jangipur? So literally I fell from sky, because never in my life, there was this discussion, and I never showed any inclination towards politics. So my answer was a simple no way. But I think that day my father planted a seed on my head. But then when I actually joined politics, that is a time, to be very honest, he was not very encouraging, because he also realized that I'm taking a impulsive decision, and the kind of spirit or the kind of patience, the kind of understanding you need to do, you require to need to do opposition politics. I didn't have that. So he asked me very, again and again that, are you 100% sure? Because politics is a lifelong commitment. You can't just say that after 2 years I'm getting bored. So I said, no, I'm very sure, I will absolutely stick to it. So, but I think he was right. He realized that politics is, and especially, doing this kind of politics is not my cup of tea.
Ma'am, I know you have quit politics. You don't have an interest in it, but you have seen the recent results that have come. Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana. A lot of political analysts were expecting at least Chhattisgarh to go to the Congress. Telangana, of course, has come as a good surprise for the party. What do you think is not working for the Congress as far as elections, electoral politics is concerned?
I can't answer this question, because firstly, I am neither a politician nor a political
But
analyst.
as an outsider.
And I haven't really been following the elections also so closely. So as an outsider, I was very surprised, especially with Chhattisgarh results.
Right.
I was also hoping that we will win Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
Telangana, I have got feedback that we are doing very well, but we have done very well. We, in the sense Congress, has done very well. Yes, it was definitely a disappointment, but what to do, how to revive the party, how to revive the organization, what kind of serious introspection they need to do, that is for the Congress leadership to work out. I am nobody to comment on that.
Okay, I'll end with the last question, ma'am. Sir was the President of India. How was his tenure? He must have mentioned something or the other to you. That how did he feel all about it? So could you shed some light on that?
Well, I think, it was, for him, it was reaching the pinnacle of height of his career. Of course, he knew that he can't go greater than that. So he was definitely very happy, very, pleased, I would say. But I think in his initial days, he was also, to be very honest, a bit bored. Because I actually saw...
He was used to strategizing.
Yes, just a day before, a day after his swearing-in ceremony, the day after that, the entry that I'm feeling a bit bored. And next day, there was a total outburst that, there is no stress, there is no strain. I don't know how am I going to adjust to this lifestyle, when there is no work, but while there was work. Yeah. But I think, he was a proactive president. He created a lot of work for himself. He made an annual practice of actually taking out a report card.
Yeah.
And the detail, what all his achievements as the president. I have written in detail in the book, so the audience can read it. I don't want to bore it. But I think, it was a very, very fruitful tenure. It was significant in the sense, he worked with 2 prime ministers,
right,
and yet belonging to 2 different parties. But for him, it was a very kind of smooth transition. But what he felt as Pranab as congressman, a congressperson, was very different but what he felt as Pranab as president. These two are 2 different things. But I think, all his political experience, all his political observation and learning, he applied to and all his understanding of constitution for which he was known for. So he applied it during his presidency, and he, by his own choice, and he wanted to be a copybook president, and he remained a copybook president.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your views with us.
Thank you.
This is Neelam Pandey reporting for The Print.